Good afternoon to those of you, whether you're in the chapel or listening on Zoom. We've had some technical issues that caused our delay, but now we have resolved those. Thank you, Clint. He is a wonder maker, and we are now back on track. So we are looking at the law of magnetism, and we're right at the halfway point, day number 3, talking about the prophet Elijah and the law of magnetism. And as you probably know by now, the law of magnetism, on one hand, is very simple, but it's very profound. It simply says who you are is who you attract. And we've been elaborating on that the first 2 sessions, and we'll take an even deeper dive today. So what we want to focus on in our time together this afternoon is this thought that leadership is who you are before, and that's the key word, before it's what you do. So many times leaders have a tendency to focus strictly on results, on the doing part. But the main issue here today is that it's more of a reflection of who we are than what we do. And so by way of introduction, leadership is not just something that you do, it's something you are. And that's one reason that good leaders have such strong magnetism. People are attracted to who they are. All effective leadership results from who a leader is. That's where everything begins. And here's a key statement. Being must precede doing. So to go a little deeper, what you are able to do as a leader comes as the result of who you are. So in order to achieve higher goals, you must be a more effective leader. To attract better people, you must be a better person. And to achieve greater results, you must be a person of great character. So it all starts with be, then do. And that's, of course, in our book that we're using for our foundation to our entire series, John Maxwell's The 21 Most Powerful Minutes in a Leader's Day. And certainly encourage you, if you haven't picked that book up, to do so. So let's talk a little bit about incarnational leadership. That word incarnation, we associate that with Jesus leaving heaven and coming to earth as a baby. So he was God who became man. And we think of the word Emmanuel. I went to a church when I was a youth called Emmanuel Lutheran Church. And so that word means God with us. And so when we think about incarnation, it reinforces this principle of being comes before doing. So just a few points there, and then we're going to share a table with you. You must first be the leader you are capable of becoming before you are able to achieve the results you desire. So even though leadership does deal with results, it deals with who we are even prior to that. In fact, what we're going to find out in just a minute is that who we are will influence the results. And so we're going to look at a table on the next slide. And so I'll just describe it before I share it. This table is divided into 3 columns. The first column on the left is entitled Who I Am. The second is entitled What I Do. And the third is entitled Result. So the point of the table is to demonstrate that who you are determines what you do, and what you do determines the results you get. So it's a process. That's the important takeaway from this. So let's look at some examples today from the table. Who I am. If I am characterful, or in other words, full of character, what I will do is do right, or do right things. The result of doing right things is that I achieve a level of credibility. Notice the if and the then aspect to this chart. if I am relational, if who I am is relational, what I'm going to do about that, or as a result of who I am, is I'm going to care. And the result of that will produce love. Moving on, if I am encouraging, if I'm an encourager, and we all like to be around people like that, right? Well, if I'm an encourager, then I'm going to believe in people. And if I believe in people, that will produce a result of high morale. If I'm sensitive, I'm going to embrace flexibility, which will then enable me to be open for renewal. If I'm a visionary, we tend to like visionary people and be drawn to them. But if I'm visionary, that will lead me to setting goals, which will provide the result of direction. Does all this make sense? The key is to see how one naturally flows to the next. You see the cause and the effect. So if who I am is teachable, then I will apply what I learned, and the result will be I will grow. If I'm charismatic, I will then motivate, which will inspire people. If who I am is humble, I will rely on God and therefore gain a measure of power. If I'm selfless, I will focus on others and then I'll produce outreach. I'll reach out to them. If I'm confident, I will make decisions and provide the result of security. And then finally, if I'm filled with the Holy Spirit of God, that will produce a witness, an overflow of what God has done in my life, and the result of that would be fruit, as we know from Galatians chapter 5. And so, again, the key to this chart is to understand and embrace the relationship between the columns. When you figure out that one produces the next and the one in the middle produces the result on the right, it reinforces this very, very key principle that it starts with who we are, which leads to what we do, and which then achieves a desirable result. So we must be careful not to short circuit the character part, the who I am part, in order to make a headlong rush to the results. Focus on the character, which will flow into activity, which will lead to results. And so, as we conclude then today, everything flows from the person that you are. Leaders get into trouble when they put their desire for results before their willingness to develop themselves in areas of competence and character. That's the first thing you want to look for if you're looking to bring somebody on board your team. Certainly they have to have skill, they have to have talent, but if they don't have character, you better watch out, because you could be getting yourself into problems. So a leader who displays consistency of character, competence, and purpose makes a powerful statement to people around them. And so this takes us back to the story of Elijah. God called Elijah to do really some pretty amazing things. On one occasion, he speaks very forcefully to the king and queen. That resulted in Jezebel wanting to kill Elijah. She was the queen. On another occasion, and we've already talked about this story, he went up against 450 prophets of Baal. On another occasion, he kind of flew solo, thinking that he was the only true prophet left and that everyone else had abandoned him. And then finally, in obeying the voice of God to hand select his own successor in Elisha. So who Elijah was, what he did, and the results he achieved, they all were in alignment with each other. And that consistency drew people to him like a magnet. And so, brings us to our question for reflection today. And that is this: do you focus more on what you've done or on who you are becoming? How important it is to take some time and think about that. Because we're measured by results, but in order to keep on getting those results, we would be wise to focus on who we're becoming along the way. So with that, we thank you for being with us. Again, apologize for the earlier technical challenges, but I'm glad that we were able to overcome them and that you were able to join us today. So tomorrow we'll have one more lesson before wrapping things up on Friday with our final session on the law of magnetism. We trust that this has been helpful and added value to you. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 3:30 here in the chapel or on Zoom. Or for those of you who it's most convenient for you to watch the videos later, we're certainly happy about that as well. We're just glad and honored to have you along on this journey. So with that, we just pray God's blessing on you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.